Elena Rivera regretted saying yes the moment she stepped into Carlisle Bistro, the fanciest restaurant she'd ever been inside. Her dress was simple, her shoes slightly scuffed, and her confidence barely holding together. This was a mistake, she whispered to herself as she scanned the room. Her blind date was supposed to be here, a single dad named Daniel Hart, according to the dating app. But something inside her twisted with anxiety. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't wealthy. She wasn't even sure she believed in love anymore. And then, as she turned to leave, a man stood near the window, watching her with quiet intensity. Tall, neatly dressed, handsome in a grounded, mature kind of way. But his eyes, soft, searching, almost nervous. "Are you Elena?" he asked. She hesitated. I am. "And you're Daniel?" He nodded. "I'm sorry I'm late. My sitter canceled last minute, and I almost had to reschedule." "It's okay," she murmured. "I don't mind waiting." But the truth? She had been ready to run. Broken heart the date that didn't feel like a date. They sat down at a small table. Daniel ordered sparkling water. Elena ordered regular. She didn't want to seem high maintenance. "So," he began awkwardly, "you're a teacher?" "Part-time," she corrected. "I tutor kids after school. It's not fancy, but I love it." A soft smile tugged at his lips. "That says a lot about you." She blushed, surprised at the sincerity. Daniel talked, but not the way most men did on dates. He didn't brag. He didn't flex. He laughed about how his daughter, Pearl, liked to hide her shoes in the washing machine. He admitted he didn't know how to braid hair, and YouTube tutorials weren't helping. Elena found herself smiling more than she had in months. But deep down, she kept pulling back. She had been hurt before. Used. Abandoned. Men always left. And she was tired of being someone's temporary distraction. Halfway through the meal, she whispered, "I'm sorry, Daniel, but I don't think I'm what you're looking for." He blinked, startled. "You haven't even let me finish rambling about my kid yet. I don't want to disappoint you." "Elena, you haven't even tried." But her past had a way of tightening around her like a grip. "I'm not good with relationships," she said quietly. "People always leave." Daniel leaned forward. "I'm not people." She looked away. "Maybe you deserve someone more confident." He shook his head. "Confidence isn't what makes a partner. Kindness does." His words hit deeper than she expected. But before she could respond, the restaurant doors suddenly burst open. A tiny girl with messy pigtails, sneakers lighting up with every step, ran straight toward them. "Daddy." Daniel's eyes widened. "Pearl? How did you get here?" Right behind her, the babysitter rushed in, breathless. "I'm so sorry." She insisted on coming, because she said. Pearl didn't wait for explanations. She ran right up to Elena, stared at her with big doe-brown eyes, and whispered, "You're the one from Daddy's story." Elena blinked. Daniel froze. The restaurant fell silent. Dizzy, the story that changed everything. Elena glanced at Daniel. "What story?" Pearl climbed into her father's lap and said proudly, "The story you tell me every night. About the kind lady who helped you when you were sad. The lady you said you hoped to meet again someday." Elena's heart hammered. Daniel's face turned red. "Pearl, baby, we don't say things like..." But Pearl kept going. "Daddy said she gave him something special. A smile. A smile that made him stop crying. Remember? When Mommy went to heaven." Elena's breath caught. Daniel looked like the ground had vanished beneath him. Elena whispered, "Daniel, what is she talking about?" He exhaled slowly. "I didn't think you'd remember. It was years ago. Back when I was drowning after my wife died. I was in a grocery store parking lot, crying like a broken idiot." His eyes softened. "And then you came up to me." Her lips parted in disbelief. "That was you." Daniel nodded. "You saw me, a complete stranger. You handed me a cup of coffee and said, 'Pain means you loved deeply. Don't ever regret that.'" Elena felt tears burn her eyes. "I remember saying that to someone. But I never thought." "That one moment," Daniel whispered, helped me get through the worst weeks of my life. Pearl grinned and pointed at Elena. And Daddy said he wished he could tell her thank you. Elena covered her mouth. All this time, she thought she was unremarkable, forgettable, replaceable. But Daniel had carried her kindness like a lifeline. Elena whispered, I didn't know you remembered me. How could I forget the person who pulled me back from the edge? Red heart, the moment she stopped regretting everything. Elena's regret melted into something warm, something new. A second chance. A circle completed. A story she didn't know she had begun. Pearl leaned toward Elena and whispered, Daddy thinks you're pretty. Daniel groaned. Pearl. But Elena laughed, truly laughed, and something inside her loosened. Maybe, she said softly, I was wrong about leaving. Daniel's eyes softened. And maybe, he replied, this wasn't a blind date after all. Pearl nodded enthusiastically. No. It's a story date. Because Daddy said stories always find their right ending. Elena looked between them. A gentle man, a sweet little girl, and a familiar warmth she hadn't felt in years. Maybe this wasn't a mistake. Maybe this was where her story was always meant to lead. Liana sat frozen in the cafe booth, her fingers tightening around her warm cup of tea as little Arya slid beside her, smiling like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Daddy said one day we'd meet the princess from his story, Arya whispered. Liana blinked. Princess. Joel stiffened. His eyes dropped to the table, his jaw tightening like someone had just opened a door he spent years keeping locked. Arya, oblivious to his discomfort, continued, You're the girl from the cafe story. The one who made Daddy believe good people still exist. The world slowed. Liana had no idea what story the little girl was talking about. Joel looked like a man who had suddenly been stripped of all his defenses. And then, softly, like he was surrendering, a small, broken smile formed on his lips. Arya, why don't you go pick a muffin? He whispered. Arya bounced away, leaving them alone. The air between them grew heavier, but not with awkwardness, more like the moment before a wound finally opens to breathe. Liana leaned forward. Joel, what story is she talking about? He exhaled, looked down, then met her eyes with a vulnerability that shook her. It was 3 years ago, he began. Right after Arya's mother passed. Liana's heart squeezed. I was sitting in a cafe with a screaming 6-month-old baby, he continued. No one helped. People stared, whispered. Some even left. His voice cracked, but he kept going. And then this girl, this stranger, walked to me. She took Arya in her arms, calmed her down, held my hand, and said, You're not failing. You're just tired. Liana swallowed, suddenly breathless. I don't even know her name, he said. But that moment, it was the first time I felt like I wasn't alone. His eyes softened as they held hers. And today, when you walked in, he hesitated. For a second, Liana, I thought maybe you were that girl. She didn't know what to say, her chest was too full. Joel continued, I told Arya stories of that stranger. I called her Daddy's princess because she saved us when we were broken. Arya grew up believing she was real. Liana felt her heart shatter softly and beautifully at the same time. Joel, she said quietly, I may not be the girl from your past, but I want to be someone in your present. He looked up instantly. You're not her, he whispered, but I think you might be the one she prepared me for. A tear rolled down her cheek before she could stop it. Just then, Arya returned with her muffin and slid herself right between them, claiming both hearts at once. She took Liana's hand with complete innocence. Daddy never smiles this much, she said. I think you're magic. Joel laughed nervously. Arya. But Liana squeezed Arya's tiny fingers. Maybe you're the magic, sweetheart. And that's when it happened. Arya placed Liana's hand into Joel's, like a child who saw more clearly than adults ever could. You can be in our story now, she said. Joel didn't pull away. Liana didn't either. For the first time in years, the cafe felt like the safest place in the world. The twist, the girl from the past. As they stood to leave, the cafe owner walked over, a woman in her late 50s with warm eyes. "You're back," she said to Joel. "With the little one again." Joel smiled politely. "Yeah, but this time it feels different." Then the owner looked at Liana and froze. "My dear, you look familiar," the woman said slowly. "Have you been here before?" Liana shook her head.
No.
The owner frowned, studying her face. "You look exactly like the girl who helped him 3 years ago." Joel's breath caught.
What?
"I remember her," the owner said. "Same eyes. Same gentle way of speaking. Same soft posture. Even the same nervous smile." Liana's heart thundered. Joel stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. "I wasn't here," Liana whispered. "I've never even been to this part of the city." The cafe owner simply smiled like a woman who understood something others didn't. "Maybe not physically," she said, "but souls recognize souls." Then she walked away. Joel looked at Liana, touched her cheek softly, and said, "Maybe it doesn't matter who the girl was. What matters is who you are right now." And for the first time in a long time, Liana let herself believe she could belong somewhere, maybe even with them. The moral of the story. Sometimes the people we lose are simply making space for the people we were meant to find. And the kindness you give today might return to you in a form you never expect.